The story. Let's begin. John Robin stared at his phone screen, his hand trembling as he read through the messages again. The text between his wife Lily and Daniil left nothing to the imagination. His stomach churned as he scrolled through their exchanges, each message driving the knife deeper into his chest. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Same place. Ken had written, wouldn't miss it. I'll tell John Robin I'm working late again. Lily had replied, adding a winking emoji that made John Robin's blood boil. He set the phone down on his home office desk, running his hands through his salt and pepper hair. The evening sun cast long shadows across the hardwood floor, and the house's silence felt oppressive. Lily would be home soon. Another late night at work that the phone record showed she'd actually spent at the Golden Crown Hotel with Ken. The hotel receipts were spread across his desk, each one a testament to their betrayal. He found them in Lily's email after noticing how she guarded her phone lately, how she'd angled the screen away whenever he walked past. The oldest receipt dated back 3 months, 3 months of lies, of kisses that meant nothing, of I love yous that were hollow. The front door clicked open downstairs. John Robin's jaw clenched as he heard Lily's heels clicking on the tile floor of the foyer. He gripped the edge of his desk, his knuckles white. John Robin, Lily called out, are you home? He didn't answer. The clicking of heels grew louder as she climbed the stairs. When she appeared in the doorway of his office, she was smiling, that same smile she'd given him this morning when she kissed him goodbye. The sight of it made him sick. There you are, she said, setting her purse down on the small table by the door. Why didn't you answer when I called? John Robin turned his laptop screen toward her. The hotel receipt from 2 days ago filled the display. Maybe because I was busy looking at this. The smile froze on Lily's face for a moment. She said nothing, then let out a short laugh. What's this about? Don't. John Robin's voice was low, dangerous. He picked up his phone, opened the text messages he'd forwarded to himself, and don't bother denying these either. Lily's face hardened as she glanced at the screen. The facade of innocence dropped away like a discarded mask. You went through my private messages. Private messages? John Robin stood up so quickly his chair slammed against the wall. That's what you're concerned about? Privacy while you're Daniil behind my back? Don't be crude, Lily said, crossing her arms. Her lipstick was perfect, her blonde hair expertly styled. How many times had she fixed that hair in Ken's bathroom mirror? And don't act like this is some huge shock. What did you expect when you're always working late, always distracted? John Robin stared at her, disbelief wearing with rage. Are you seriously trying to blame me for this? I'm not blaming anyone, Lily said, examining her manicured nails. I'm just stating facts. Ken makes me feel appreciated, desired. When was the last time you looked at me the way he does? The casual way she said Ken's name made John Robin's vision blur with anger. So this is my fault because I work hard to give you anything you want, the house, the cars, the shopping trips. Lily rolled her eyes. Oh, please don't play the martyr. You work because you're obsessed with your career. Don't pretend it was ever about me. 20 years of marriage, John Robin said, his voice shaking. 20 years, and this is how you repay my trust, by spreading your legs for that piece of theirs. The real John Robin, Lily sneered, always so controlled on the surface, but underneath you're just insecure and controlling. Ken never tries to make me feel guilty for being happy. John Robin slammed his hand on the desk, making Lily jump. Happy you call sneaking around, lying to my face, making a fool of me, that makes you happy? Yes, Lily said, lifting her chin defiantly. Yes, it does. Ken understands me in ways you never have. He listens, he doesn't judge, he makes me feel alive. And does his wife know how alive he makes you feel? A flicker of uncertainty crossed Lily's face, quickly replaced by defiance. Leave Anita out of this. This is between us. No, John Robin said, stepping around the desk. This stopped being just between us the moment you decided to destroy 2 marriages. So here's how this is going to go. You end it with Ken immediately, completely, or you get out. Lily laughed, the sound sharp and mocking. Or what? You'll divorce me? Go ahead. Kim makes 3 times what you do. He can give me everything you can't. Everything I can't. John Robin's voice was quiet now, deadly calm. You mean like Self-respect, dignity, basic human decency. Don't you dare judge me, Lily snapped. You have no idea what it's been like being married to someone so boring, so predictable. Ken excites me. He makes me feel young again. Get out. The words came out as a growl. Gladly, Lily said, grabbing her purse. I'll be at Ken's. Don't wait up. She paused in the doorway, looking back over her shoulder. You know what's funny? Ken said you'd react exactly like this, so controlled on the surface, but underneath just a sad, jealous man who can't handle that his wife found someone better. John Robin watched her walk away, her heels clicking down the stairs like a countdown. The front door opened and closed through the office window. He watched her get into her Mercedes, the one he bought her for their anniversary last year, and drive away. His hand found the bottom drawer of his desk, pulled it open. The gun he bought 5 years ago after a break-in down the street lay there, black and ominous in its holster. He stared at it, thoughts of Daniil flooding his mind. Ken, with his perfect smile and expensive suits. Ken, who'd sat across from him at charity events, shaking his hand while his wife, behind his back, slammed the drawer shut and pulled out his phone. His hand shook as he pulled up social media, quickly finding Anna Williams' profile. Ken's wife deserved to know. They all deserved to know. He tooted out a message to Anita, attached screenshots of the texts and hotel receipts. His finger hovered over the send button for a long moment before pressing it. The message whooshed away. Her real estate office. He leaned back in his leather chair, loosening his tie as the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across his desk. The first charge had appeared 3 months ago. He remembered that day. Lily had been different when she came home, more vibrant somehow. At the time he attributed it to her closing a big property deal. Now the truth felt like acid in his stomach. His office phone busted. Mr. Drake, his assistant Jessica's voice came through. Mrs. Drake is on line 1. John Robin's jaw clenched. Put her through. He waited for the click of connection. Hello, Lily. John Robin, honey. Sarah's voice was bright. Practiced, I'm sure. And John Robin sat back in his chair, staring at the darkening sky outside. His phone buzzed less than 5 minutes later. Anita's response was brief. Come to the cafe on 4th Street tomorrow, 9:00 a.m. We need to talk. John Robin sent back a simple okay and set the phone down. The house felt enormous and empty around him, filled with memories that now felt poisoned. He could see Lily everywhere, reading on the couch, cooking in the kitchen, laughing at the dinner table, but those memories were lies, now tainted by the knowledge of her betrayal. He opened the drawer again, looked at the gun. The metal gleamed in the last rays of sunlight streaming through the window. With deliberate movements he closed the drawer and locked it, pocketing the key. Tomorrow he would meet Anita. Tomorrow they would plan how to expose Lily and Ken's betrayal to everyone. But tonight, alone in his office with the evidence of his wife's infidelity spread across his desk, John Robin let his anger simmer and grow, transforming into something darker and more dangerous than mere betrayal. The sun set outside his window, casting the room in shadows. In the darkness, John Robin began to plan. John Robin sat in his corner office at Drake and Associates, staring at the Excel spreadsheet that had triggered everything as a financial advisor. Numbers were his life, and numbers didn't lie. The credit card statement he'd been reconciling for their joint account showed a pattern. He couldn't ignore recurring charges at the Golden Crown Hotel, always on Wednesday afternoons when Lily claimed to be working late at ING, a property to some last-minute clients. I'll be home late tonight. He opened the hotel receipt on his screen. A new booking for tonight. How late? Oh, probably around 8 or 9. Don't wait up for dinner. The Golden Crown. Again the words left his mouth before he could stop them. The silence on the other end lasted 2 heartbeats. What? Nothing, he said quickly. Just be safe. I love you. The last 3 words tasted like ash. Love you too, Lily replied, her voice carrying a note of uncertainty. Before hanging up, John Robin pulled out his personal phone, opening the tracking app he installed last week. The dot showing Lily's location was moving not toward any residential areas where she might show property, but toward the hotel district. His hand shook as he pulled up the banking app. Their joint account showed a pending charge from a liquor store 3 days ago. Lily hadn't worn new lingerie for him in over a year. He opened his bottom desk drawer, pulling out the private investigator's report he'd received that morning. The manila envelope contained dozens of photos. Lily entering the hotel's side entrance, Daniil following 5 minutes later, Lily and Ken at a restaurant across Ross Town. Her hand on his thigh under the table, the most damning, Lily kissing Ken in his BMW in the hotel parking garage, her wedding ring clearly visible as her fingers clutched his neck. The pie had included a USB drive with video footage and most devastating screenshots of text messages retrieved from Lily's cloud backup. John Robin had spent his lunch break reading through them, each message feeling like a physical blow. Last night was amazing. Ken had written, "You're unrival, Lily. I can't stop thinking about how you feel, how you taste." Lily's response had made John Robin's blood run cold. John Robin never made me feel the way you do. He's so boring, so predictable. You make me feel alive. A knock at his office door snapped him back to the present. Jessica stood there, concern on her face. "Mr. Drake, it's past 6. Would you like me to order dinner?" John Robin realized he'd been sitting in the growing darkness. "No thanks, Jessica, you can head home. I just need to finish something." After she left, John Robin opened his laptop and began forwarding the evidence to his personal email. Each click felt like another nail in the coffin of his marriage. 20 years together gone in a series of hotel receipts and secret messages. He thought back to when they first met. Lily had been a junior realtor, bright-eyed and ambitious. He'd been building his financial advisory firm, working 16-hour days to make it successful. They connected over their Shar Drive, their determination to succeed. Now here they were, his firm was thriving. She was one of the top realtors in the city, and their marriage was a lie. The drive home was a blur. John Robin's mind kept replaying moments from the past 3 months, seeing them in a new light. Lily's sudden interest in fitness, joining an expensive gym, her new clothes more revealing than her usual style, the way she'd turn away to text, always with a slight smile on her face, the decreasing frequency of their intimacy, her excuses becoming more creative each time he pulled into their driveway, noting Lily's empty parking spot. The house was dark and silent, their cleaner having left hours ago in the kitchen. He found a bottle of scotch and poured 3 fingers, not bothering with ice. The home office upstairs had become his sanctuary over the years. Now it would become the stage for confrontation. He spread the evidence across his desk methodically: hotel receipts, credit card statements, photos, text message screenshots, a timeline of betrayal laid bare. His phone buzzed with a text from the pie. Subject entered Golden Crown Hotel at 6:45 p.m. Williams arrived at 6:52 p.m. John Robin opened his desk drawer, staring at the gun he bought after a string of break-ins in their neighborhood 5 years ago. Lily had protested at the time, calling it an overreaction. He'd taken courses, gotten licensed, learned proper safety and handling, now holding it different. Thoughts filled his mind. He put the gun away and pulled up social media instead. Ken Williams's profile was full of family photos, him with his wife Anita at charity events, on vacations at their country club. The man's smile never changed, whether he was posing with his wife or shaking John Robin's hand at business functions. The photos of Ken and Anita at last month's charity gala caught his attention. Lily had been there too, photographed laughing with Ken while John Robin had been speaking with donors. In one photo, Ken's hand was on Lily's lower back. At the time it had seemed innocent. Now John Robin could see the intimacy in their stance, the secret smiles they shared. Hours passed. As John Robin dug deeper, he found older photos of the 4 of them at various events, holiday parties, fundraisers, golf tournaments. Daniil had been infiltrating his life for years, building trust while plotting to destroy his marriage. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway broke his concentration. John Robin checked his watch. 10:30 p.m. Heavy drops of rain had begun falling, drumming against the office windows. He heard the garage door open, then close. Lily's heels clicked on the tile floor downstairs. John Robin She called out, "Are you home?" He didn't answer. The clicking of heels grew louder as she climbed the stairs. When she appeared in the doorway of his office, she was smiling, that same smile he'd seen in photos of her with Ken. Her hair was slightly damp from the rain, her makeup perfect. Despite the late hour, the sight of her made his stomach turn. "There you are," she said, setting her purse down on the small table by the door. "Why didn't you answer when I called?" John Robin turned his laptop screen to her, displaying the hotel receipt from 2 days ago. "Maybe because I was busy looking at this after Lily left." John Robin sat in his darkened office for hours. The rain outside grew heavier, matching his darkening thoughts. He thought about Daniil, about how they'd played golf together just last month, how Ken had commented on what a lucky man John Robin was to have Lily, how they'd share drinks afterward, Ken patting him on the back while probably thinking about his next rendezvous with Lily. The next morning John Robin arrived at the cafe on 4th Street 15 minutes early. The place was half empty, morning commuters having already grabbed their coffee and left. He chose a corner booth with a clear view of the door and ordered black coffee. Anita Williams walked in exactly at 9 a.m. She was a striking woman in her early 40s, dark hair, perfectly styled designer dress hugging her athletic frame. If she'd been crying, it didn't show. She spotted John Robin and walked over, her expression neutral. "Mrs. Williams," John Robin said, starting to stand. "Anita, please," she said, sliding into the booth. "And stay seated. I think we're past formalities." A waitress approached, but Anita waved her away. She placed her phone on the table screen. "Up, I got your message last night. Show me everything." John Robin pulled out his tablet, beginning with the credit card statements. Anita's face remained composed as he walked her through the evidence, but her knuckles whitened as she gripped her unused coffee cup. "The lingerie receipts," she said quietly. "Same store where I buy mine. He always said he loved how their pieces looked on me." She laughed, a brittle sound. "I suppose he wanted Lily to shop there so he wouldn't get confused." "I'm sorry," John Robin said. "I debated whether to tell you." "Don't apologize," Anita cut him off. "I've suspected for weeks. Ken's been different, distant. I found a receipt for dinner at Le Blanc last month when he was supposed to be at a business meeting. Lily's name was on the reservation list." "How long have you known?" "Since your message last night." "Expected about 2 months." She pulled up her own phone, showing John Robin a photo. "My trainer goes to the same gym as Lily. She sent me this 6 weeks ago." The photo showed Lily and Ken in workout clothes, standing too close together in the gym parking lot. Even from a distance their body language screamed intimacy. "What do you want to do?" John Robin asked. That Anita's eyes hardened. "I want to destroy them, not just divorce them. Destroy them." Ken's entire client base is built on his reputation as a family man and Lily's real estate empire. "How many of her clients are from our country club circle?" She leaned forward. "Help me ruin them and I'll help you make them both regret ever meeting." John Robin studied her face, seeing his own pain and rage reflected there. "I was hoping you'd say that they spent the next 2 hours planning." Anita had access to Ken's emails, his calendar, his contact list. John Robin had the pie's evidence and his own financial records showing Lily's patterns. Together, they began mapping out a campaign to expose the affair to everyone who mattered: colleagues, clients, country club members, friends. "Ken has a charity board meeting next week," Anita said, checking her phone. "Lily's listed as attending. I think it's time they both face some public accountability." John Robin nodded, his mind already working through scenarios. "We need to be careful, strategic, maximum impact with minimal risk to ourselves." "Of course," Anita agreed. "We're not the villains here. We're the wrong spouses. Taking back our dignity." She gathered her things, standing. "I'll start gathering more evidence from my end. Text me later. We need to coordinate timing." After she left, John Robin remained in the booth staring at his cold coffee. The cafe had filled up with late morning customers, their cheerful conversations a stark contrast to the darkness of his thoughts. His phone buzzed. Another text from Lily. "Hope you calmed down. We need to talk about this like adults." He deleted the message without responding. On his tablet, he pulled up the photo of Ken and Lily kissing in the parking garage. Rage rose in his chest as he studied Ken's face, remembering every fake smile, every friendly handshake, every betrayal. The gun in his desk drawer flashed through his mind again. John Robin closed his eyes, pushing the thought away. Not yet. First would come the exposure, the humiliation, the destruction of their carefully built facades. The gun that could wait. He paid his bill and walked out into the morning sunshine. His phone buzzed again, and this time just found emails between him going back 6 months. This gets worse. Meet again tomorrow. John Robin typed back a quick affirmative, then headed to his car. He had work to do, evidence to organize, plans to make, a reputation to destroy, and somewhere in the back of his mind that gun waited, a last resort that grew more tempting with each passing hour. Over the next 2 weeks, John Robin and Anita met daily at different cafes around the city, careful to avoid their usual haunts. Today they sat in a quiet corner of a small bistro, surveillance photos spread between their coffee cups. Look at this one, Anita said, sliding a photo across the table. Tuesday afternoon, Ken told me he was meeting clients. John Robin studied the image of Ken and Lily entering in an upscale restaurant, his wife's hand tucked possessively in Ken's arm. Lily said she was showing houses in the Beverly district that day. They're getting careless, Anita said, her dark eyes hardening. Where they just don't care anymore. Yesterday I overheard Ken on the phone with her right in his home office with me in the next room. What did they say? Anita's lips curved in a bitter smile. Oh, the usual garbage. How much they miss each other, how they can't wait to be together. Ken actually said we deserve to be happy. Can you believe that? As if their happiness justifies destroying 2 marriages. Lily said the same thing. John Robin growled, his fingers tightening around his coffee cup. Word for word, I deserve to be happy. They probably rehearsed their lines together. Anita said she pulled out her tablet, opening a spreadsheet. I've documented every lie, every meeting, every excuse Ken's given me for the past month. Time, dates, locations. The foundation board meeting is tomorrow night. Are we ready? John Robin nodded, pulling out his own tablet. I've compiled everything, hotel receipts, photos, text messages, even recordings from the pie of them in public places. All perfectly legal, all damning as hell. Good. Anita leaned forward, lowering her voice. Ken's been pushing for Lily to join the foundation board. Says she'd be a valuable addition with her real estate connections. Tomorrow night, he's planning to nominate her in front of everyone, including you, including me. Anita's smile was razor sharp. He actually asked me to second the nomination, said it would look better coming from me. John Robin's laugh was harsh. The arrogance is almost impressive. That's Ken. He thinks he's untouchable. Anita tapped the surveillance photos. Time to prove him wrong. Lily's the same way, John Robin said, remembering their last confrontation. You know what she did yesterday? Came home, walked right past me in the kitchen, and announced she was going out to dinner with Ken to discuss business. Didn't even pretend it was someone else anymore. What did you say? Nothing, just watched her walk out. She was wearing new jewelry, a bracelet I'd never seen before. Must be a gift from her beloved Ken. Probably bought it with the money from that Henderson deal they worked together. Anita said, the one where Ken coincidentally steered his client to Lily's real estate firm. John Robin's phone buzzed. A text from Lily, working late again. Don't wait up. He showed it to Anita, who snorted. Ken sent me almost the same message 10 minutes ago. Big client meeting, honey, don't hold dinner. She checked her watch. The Golden Crown must be doing great business these days. You know what kills me? John Robin said, his voice low and dangerous. Every time she comes home from these meetings, she acts like everything's normal, asks about my day, talks about house listings, even tries to kiss me sometimes. Ken does the same thing. Anita said, last night he brought me flowers, said he'd seen them and thought of me. Meanwhile, his car's GPS history shows he was at that boutique near Lily's office, probably buying her something to match that bracelet. They fell silent as the waitress refilled their coffee cups. When she left, Anita pulled out another stack of papers. I hear my own pie, she said. He found something interesting. Look at this. John Robin examined the document, a lease agreement for a downtown apartment signed last week. Both Ken's and Lily's names were on it. Son of a he muttered. They're planning ahead. 1-year lease. Anita confirmed, starting next month. Guess they're tired of hotel rooms. Does the lease agreement specify which days they'll be destroying their marriages? Their John Robin's attempt at humor fell flat, his voice cracking with rage. John Robin Anita's tone made him look up. Are you sure you're okay? These past few days you've seemed different. He thought about the gun in his desk drawer, how he'd started carrying it in his briefcase. I'm fine, because if you're not, we need to. I said I'm fine, he snapped. Then softer, sorry, it's just seeing them together, watching them flaunt it. I know. Anita reached across the table, squeezing his hand. Trust me, I know, but we need to be smart about this. Tomorrow night needs to be perfect. John Robin pulled his hand away, uncomfortable with the contact. It will be. I've got the presentation ready on my phone. As soon as Ken nominates her, I'll second it. Anita said, her voice hard. Then, while Ken's giving his little speech about Lily's qualifications, you'll connect your phone to the projector for the supporting presentation. Everything's queued up. Hotel receipts first, then the photos building to those text where they trash talk us both. The foundation board is very conservative, Anita said, very big on family values. Ken's position as treasurer will be gone before he can blake, and since half the board members are from your country club, Lily's social circle goes up in flames at the same time. John Robin finished, along with her real estate connections. Perfect. Anita gathered the photos, sliding them into her designer briefcase. I should go. Kim will be home soon, expecting dinner and sympathy about his tough client meeting. Lily, to John Robin, said, checking his phone. Another text from his wife. Miss you. Don't be mad anymore. We can talk when I get home. They're unbelievable, Anita said, reading the message over his shoulder. Do they think we're stupid? They think we're weak. John Robin corrected her, that we eventually forgive them, accept their excuses, that will be so grateful they came back. We'll overlook everything, then they don't know us very well. Anita stood adjusting her blazer. Tomorrow night, John Robin, everything changes tomorrow night. After she left, John Robin sat alone, stirring his cold coffee. His phone buzzed again. Lily sending a photo of herself smiling at what was clearly a restaurant table, having dinner with the girls. Wish you were here. The lie was so blatant it almost made him laugh. He'd driven past the Golden Crown an hour ago. Her car had been in the parking lot right next to Ken's BMW. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of rage and preparation. John Robin reviewed the presentation for tomorrow night, making sure every image was crystal clear, every text message. Damning around midnight, he heard Lily come home, her heels clicking on the stairs. She paused outside his office door. John Robin, are you still working? He didn't answer, just kept staring at his laptop screen. After a moment, she continued down the hall to their bedroom. He'd been sleeping in the guest room since discovering the affair, but she still acted like everything was normal. The next morning, Lily was gone before he woke up. A note on the kitchen counter read, early showing, see you tonight at the foundation meeting, love you. The words made his stomach turn. He crumpled the note and threw it away, then checked his briefcase. The gun was there, nestled between his laptop and a foundation meeting agenda. He hadn't planned to bring it, but something in him couldn't leave it behind. The day crawled by. John Robin went through the motions at work, reviewing client portfolios and attending meetings, all while watching the clock. At 5, he texted Anita, ready. Her response was immediate. Born ready. K just called, says he's bringing champagne to celebrate Lily's nomination. Bastard. The foundation met in a renovated warehouse downtown, all exposed brick and industrial chic. John Robin arrived early, setting up his laptop and testing the connection to the projector. Board members filtered in, greeting each other with handshakes and air kisses. Ken and Lily arrived together, not even trying to hide it anymore. John Robin, Ken called out, waving as if they were still friends. Good to see you, buddy. Big night tonight. Lily hung back, watching John Robin carefully. She was wearing the new bracelet. He noticed it caught the light as she nervously twisted it around her wrist. And John Robin said flatly, Lily. John Robin, please. Lily said quietly, can we talk before the meeting starts? Nothing to talk about. He turned away, focusing on his laptop. The meeting began promptly at 700. Ken sat at the treasurer's desk. Lily in the visitor section. Anita took her place among the board members, her face a mask of calm. John Robin connected his phone to the projector, then sat back, waiting. Regular business came first. Budget report, fundraising updates, project proposals. John Robin Barely heard any of it, his pulse pounding in his ears. Finally they reached new business. Ken stood straining his tie. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I'd like to propose a new member for your consideration, someone I believe will be a valuable addition to our organization. Ken smiled broadly at the board members. Every inch. The confident executive. Lily Drake has been a pillar of our community for years. Her real estate expertise and connections would be invaluable to our foundation's growth. John Robin watched Lily beam at Ken's words as she was wearing a new dress, probably bought for this occasion, probably with Ken's money. His fingers brushed his briefcase under the table, feeling the shape of the gun through the leather. Lily's track record speaks for itself. Ken continued. Last year alone she facilitated over $20 million in property transactions. Her client list includes some of the city's most influential families. Thank you, Ken. The board chairman said, do we have a second for Mrs. Drake's nomination? Anita raised her hand, her voice smooth as silk. I second the nomination. Ken's smile widened. Thank you, darling. Now if I may continue with a brief presentation about Lily's qualifications. Actually, John Robin stood up, his laptop in hand. I have a presentation of my own about Lily's qualifications. Lily's head snapped toward him, her eyes widening. John Robin, what are you, please? He cut her off. Addressing the board, I think you should all see this before voting. The first image appeared on the screen, a hotel receipt from the Golden Crown. This is from last month, John Robin said, his voice steady. One of many such receipts showing regular meetings between Mrs. Drake and our esteemed treasurer. Ken's face reddened. Now wait a minute. The next slide showed them entering the hotel together, then another of them kissing in the parking garage. Text messages appeared next, blown up large enough for everyone to read. Ken, miss you already. Last night was incredible. Lily, you're amazing. John Robin, could never make me feel the way you do. Gasps filled the room. Lily had gone pale, her hands gripping her purse so tight her knuckles were white. Ken stood frozen behind the treasurer's desk, his champagne celebration forgotten. This has been going on for months. John Robin continued, advancing through more evidence. While I worked to build my business, while Mrs. Williams supported the foundation, these two have been carrying on an affair. They've lied to us, to all of you, to everyone. John Robin, stop this right now. Lily, his standing up, this is private. He laughed harshly. Like the apartment you just leased together, the one you were planning to move in. And next month. More murmurs from the board. Anita stood up, her voice clear and cold as Ken's wife. Life, I can confirm everything Mr. Drake is showing you. Our spouses have betrayed not only us but the values this foundation claims to represent. This is ridiculous. Ken finally sputtered, these photos could be anything. Really? John Robin pulled up the GPS data from Ken's car. Your BMW seems to spend a lot of time at the Golden Crown, and Lily's Mercedes is always there too. Coincidence? The board chairman cleared his throat. Mr. Williams, Mrs. Drake, do you have any response to these allegations? Lily looked around the room, seeing nothing but shocked and disgusted faces. We can say something, but Ken was already gathering his things, his movements jerky and panicked. This is a personal matter. It has nothing to do with the foundation. Everything has to do with the foundation. One of the older board members said, we're not just a charity, we're a moral cornerstone of this community. This behavior is unacceptable. Moral cornerstone? Lily's voice took on a hysterical edge. That's rich coming from you. Richard, does your wife know about your gambling debts? Lily Kay warned, but she was beyond stopping. And you, Patricia? Lily pointed at another board member. Should we talk about your son's rehab visits? Or how about you, Tom, those business trips to Vegas with your secretary? That's enough. The chairman's voice cracked like a whip. Mrs. Drake, you are obviously not suitable for board membership. Mr. Williams, the board will expect your resignation on my desk tomorrow morning. This meeting is adjourned. People began filing out, whispering among themselves. Lily stood alone in the middle of the room, her perfect makeup streaked with tears. Ken had already fled, not even looking back at her. John Robin, she stepped toward him. Please, we can talk about this like we talked about it 2 weeks ago. He packed up laptop, his movements Deliberate when you mocked me, called me boring, controlling. How's Kim looking now? Lily, still exciting, still making you feel alive. You've ruined everything, she whispered. My reputation, my social standing, you ruined everything. He corrected her. I just exposed it. Anita approached them, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Lily, dear, you might want to check the country club newsletter tomorrow. Amazing how fast Nunu travels in our circle. Lily's face crumpled. Anita, please, we can work something out. Anita laughed. Like you and Ken worked out your little love nest, that apartment you leased together. She pulled out her phone. I already sent the lease agreement to everyone in my contact list. Funny how many of them are your real estate clients. You, Lily snarled, her mask of sophistication finally cracking completely. You're just jealous because Ken wanted me instead of you. Wanted you. Anita's smile was vicious. Oh honey, Ken's wanted half the women in this city. You're just the only one stupid enough to think you were special. Lily turned to John Robin, her voice breaking. John Robin, please, I made a mistake. We can fix this. There's nothing to fix. He picked up his briefcase, feeling the weight of the gun inside. I'll have divorce papers drawn up tomorrow. Don't bother coming home tonight. Go to Ken. Oh wait. He pretended to check his phone. Looks like he's not answering your calls either. Lily's phone was indeed buzzing unanswered in her hand, Ken's name flashing on the screen. He's just shocked. He'll call back. We love each other. Love. John Robin's laugh was cold. Is that what you call it? Tell me, Lily. Does Ken love you enough to give up his marriage, his position here, his reputation, his clients? He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Or were you just another conquest, another notch on his belt, another stupid bored housewife who fell for his line? Stop it, she whispered, but he continued. You want to know the best part? While you were busy destroying our marriage, I was busy documenting everything, every hotel receipt, every lie, every message. The divorce court is going to love it. Hope Ken's money was worth losing half of everything we built together. You can't do this to me. Lily's voice rose hysterically. I'll fight you. I'll tell everyone what a controlling bastard you are. Go ahead. He turned to leave. Tell them whatever you want. The evidence speaks for itself. Your reputation is already destroyed. Your social circle will be gone by morning, and your real estate career. He smiled coldly. Let's just say the country club set doesn't like doing business with home wreckers. I hate you. She spat, mascara running down her cheeks. No, Lily, you hate yourself. You just don't know it yet. He left her standing there, her phone still buzzing unanswered in her hand. In the parking lot, Anita caught up with him. That was perfect, she said. Ken's probably halfway to his lake house by now, hiding from the fallout. John Robin nodded, his hand tight on his briefcase. What's your next move? Oh, I'm not done yet. Anita's eyes glittered. I've already called our lawyer. By this time tomorrow, Ken's accounts will be frozen. By the end of the week, every client he has will know what kind of man they're trusting with their money. Good. John Robin checked his phone. 3 missed calls from Lily already. I need to go. John Robin. Anita caught his arm. Are you okay? You seem. I'm fine. He pulled away. I just need to finish this. Finish what? But he was already walking to his car, the weight of the gun in his briefcase feeling heavier with each step. As he drove away, he could see Lily in his rearview mirror running out of the building, still trying to call Kay. In his phone buzzed with a text from her. Please come home. We need to talk. I'm sorry. I'll end it with Ken. I promise. Just please come home. John Robin deleted the message without responding. Instead, he pulled up his GPS and entered Ken's address. It was time to end this one way or another. The drive to Ken's house felt surreal. Street lights blurred past as John Robin gripped the steering wheel, his mind racing with months of accumulated rage. His phone kept buzzing, Lily's desperate attempts to reach him alternating with concerned messages from Anita. John Robin, where are you going? Anita's latest text read, please call me. I'm worried. He ignored them all. The GPS guided him through upscale neighborhoods until he reached Ken Street. The house was dark except for a light in an upstairs window. Ken's BMW sat in the driveway, exactly where John Robin knew it would be. Ken always ran home when things got tough. Anita had told him that during one of their planning sessions. John Robin parked a block away and sat in his car staring at the house. The gun felt heavy in his briefcase. He hadn't planned this, hadn't Come here, and tending to what exactly was he planning to do? His phone rang. Lily again. This time he answered. John Robin. Thank God, she breathed. Where are you? Please come home, we can work this out. I'm looking at Ken's house, he said quietly. The silence on the other end stretched for several seconds. What? Why are you? He's home, you know, hiding in his house while you face everyone alone. That's the kind of man you threw away 20 years of marriage for. John Robin. Listen to me. Lily's voice shook. Don't do anything stupid. Whatever you're thinking, stupid. He laughed. Like trusting my wife, like believing in our marriage while you were spreading your legs for that piece of. Please, she whispered. I'm sorry, I'll do anything. It's too late for sorry. He hung up, turning off his phone. The light in Ken's upstairs window went out. A few minutes later it came on. Downstairs, John Robin got out of his car, taking his briefcase. The walk to Ken's front door felt like moving through a dream. That he rang the doorbell. Footsteps approached, then stopped. Through the decorative glass panels, he saw Ken's silhouette peer out. The door opened a crack, secured by a chain. John Robin. Ken's voice was uncertain. What are you doing here? We need to talk. Look, man, I know you're upset. Open the door, Ken. John Robin's voice was deadly calm. Or I start calling every client you have right now. I've got their numbers right here. The door closed, chain rattling, then opened fully. Ken stood there in expensive loungewear, trying to look confident and failing. Come in, he said. Let's discuss this like rational men. John Robin stepped into the marble floor foyer. Family photos lined the walls. Ken and Anita at various events and vacations. All lies, just like his own family photos at home. Drink. Ken moved toward his home bar. I think we both could use one. You're pathetic, John Robin said, setting his briefcase on a side table. You know that. Ken's forced smile faltered. Listen, John Robin. What happened with Lily was a mistake, an accident. You just happened to fall in a bed with my wife for 3 months straight. It's complicated, Ken said, pouring himself a whiskey with shaking hands. Sometimes these things just happen. Things just happen, John Robin repeated. Like you happening to book the same hotel room every Wednesday. Like you happening to lease an apartment with her. Ken took a long drink. How much? What? How much to make this go away? Ken set his glass down. Name your price. I can have the money transferred tonight. John Robin stared at him, rage building. You think you can buy your way out of this? Everyone has a price, Ken said, some of his usual confidence returning. Let's be realistic. What's done is done. Lily and I, it was a mistake. We both know that now, but destroying our lives, our careers, what's the point? The point. John Robin's hand moved to his briefcase. The point is consequences, Ken. The point is you don't get to my wife and walk away with a checkbook. Wade, be reasonable, Ken said, backing up slightly. Think about Lily. Do you really want to ruin her life too? Lily ruined her own life. John Robin opened a briefcase. The foundation board was just the beginning. By morning, everyone will know what kind of people you both are. Ken's eyes fixed on the briefcase. What are you doing? You know what's funny? John Robin's hand closed around the gun. All those times we played golf together, all those charity events you pretended to be my friend while you were sleeping with my wife. John Robin. Ken's voice shook. Think about what you're doing. I've thought about it for weeks now. John Robin pulled out the gun. Every time Lily came home smelling like your cologne, every time she lied about where she'd been, every time you shook my hand and smiled knowing you'd just been with her. Ken raised his hands. Put the gun down. We can talk about this like you talked about it with Lily, planning your future together in that apartment, making fun of your stupid, boring spouses who trusted you. It wasn't like that. No. John Robin's voice was eerily calm. Then what was it like? Ken, enlighten me. Tell me how it wasn't exactly what it looked like. You and Lily sneaking around, lying to everyone, thinking you'd never get caught. K made a break for the door. John Robin moved to block him and they collided. The gun went off during the struggle, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. Ken stumbled back, red blooming across his expensive shirt. His eyes were wide with shock as he looked down at the wound, then back at John Robin. You shot me, he gasped, collapsing against his designer couch. John Robin stood frozen, the gun still in his hand. Outside, dogs were barking. A car alarm had started somewhere nearby. Soon people would come to investigate the noise. Ken was clutching his chest. Breathing heavily help please. The front door burst open. Lily stood there still in her dress from the foundation meeting. John Robin, she screamed. What have you done? Blood seeped between Ken's fingers as he slumped further down the couch. Lily rushed to his side, her hands fluttering uselessly over his wound. Someone call an ambulance, she screamed. Ken, stay with me, please stay with me. John Robin stood rooted to the spot, the gun heavy in his hand. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had already called the police. Everything felt distant, unreal, like watching a movie of someone else's life. You bastard, Lily sobbed, pressing her hands over Ken's wound. Her new bracelet was smeared with his blood. How could you do this? How could first? John Robin's voice was eerily calm. How could you both of you? Ken's breathing was labored. Lily, I'm sorry, I should have. Don't talk, she urged. Help is coming, just hold on. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. Car doors slammed outside. John Robin looked down at the gun in his hand, then at Ken bleeding on his designer couch. Lily, kneeling beside him in her ruined dress. Police dropped the weapon. Officers burst through the open door, guns drawn. John Robin slowly placed his gun on the floor, raising his hands as they rushed to cuff him. He caught a glimpse of Anita pushing through the gathered crowd outside. I followed you, she called out. John Robin, what have you done? The next few hours passed in a blur of questions and procedures. John Robin sat in an interrogation room, his expensive suit stained with blood. As detectives took his statement, he told them everything: the affair, the confrontation, the struggle for the gun. It wasn't planned, he explained for the third time. I went there to confront him. The gun, it went off during the struggle. A struggle you initiated, the detective pointed out, making notes. After bringing a loaded weapon to his house. Is he dead? The detective studied him for a long moment. Mr. Williams is in surgery, that's all I can tell you right now. In another room, Lily sat wrapped in a shock blanket, mascara streaking her face as she gave her own statement through the one-way glass. John Robin watched her, gesturing frantically, probably painting him as a jealous monster. He wondered if she was telling them about the foundation meeting, about how he destroyed her reputation just hours before Anita appeared at his holding cell around midnight. Her face drawn. Ken's alive, she said without preamble. The bullet missed his heart. He'll recover. John Robin said nothing, staring at his hands. I've called Richard Morton, she continued. HEK, the best criminal defense attorney in the city. He'll be here in the morning. She paused. What were you thinking? John Robin, I wasn't, he admitted. I just, when he offered to pay me off like everything could be erased with money. You've given them exactly what they wanted, Anita said sharply. Now they're the victims. Lily's already playing the traumatized lover to the press. Outside the press, it's everywhere. Prominent financial advisor shoots love rival. Lily's crying to anyone who will listen about how controlling and violent you've always been. How she turned to Ken for protection. John Robin laughed bitterly. Protection from what? Her own conscience. It doesn't matter now. Anita gripped the sellers. Listen to me, say nothing else to anyone until Richard gets here. Ken will live, which means attempted murder charges, but Richard's good with the affair, the provocation, the struggle. We might be able to get it down to assault. Yes, we. Anita's eyes hard. You think I'm abandoning you now? We started this together. I'll testify about Ken's affair, about how they flaunted it, about Lily's taunts and provocations. It won't excuse what you did, but it might help explain it. A guard approached. Mrs. Williams' visiting hours are over. Anita straightened her designer jacket. Richard will be here first thing tomorrow. Remember what I said? Talk to no one. After she left, John Robin lay on the hard cell bunk staring at the ceiling. He could hear other prisoners moving in nearby cells, guards talking, phones ringing somewhere out there. Lily was probably at the hospital with Ken playing the devoted lover. Tomorrow, their affair would be front page news, but now they'd be portrayed as victims of a jealous husband's rage rather than exposed adulterers. His phone call to his lawyer had been brief but clear. The firm would survive, but his position was untenable. 20 years of building his reputation gone in one moment of rage. The foundation board members who witnessed his exposure of the affair would now question everything he'd said. Around dawn, a guard brought him coffee and a newspaper. His own face stared back at him from the front page next to a Photo of Ken and Lily at some charity event. The headline read, "Society Shooting Jealous Husband Attacks Prominent Businessman." The article painted him exactly as Anita had warned, a controlling, violent man who'd snapped when his wife found love with another man. Lily was quoted extensively crying about how she lived in fear of his temper. Ken's wife Anita was mentioned only in passing, described as standing by her injured husband. Richard Morton arrived as promised, his 1,000-suit immaculate. Despite the early hour, well, he said, settling into the interview room chair, "You've certainly given me a challenge, John Robin. Can you help me?" "That depends." Richard opened his briefcase. "The shooting itself is problematic, but the context works in our favor. The affair, the public humiliation, the confrontation at the foundation, it builds a picture of extreme emotional distress. They're calling it attempted murder. Initial charges are always high," Richard said, scanning a document. "They want to plead down. Ken will recover, which helps in his own behavior while sleeping with another man's wife tends to make juries unsympathetic." Lily's plain to victim. "Yes, I saw her performance on the morning news." Richard's smile was cold. "But we have evidence of her affair, her taunts, her cruelty. The apartment lease with Ken, the hotel receipts, text messages mocking you. It won't excuse the shooting, but it paints a very different picture than the poor frightened wife. She's pretending to be a guard." "Knocked. Mr. Drake, you have another visitor." Lily walked in, still wearing last night's blood-stained dress. She'd fixed her makeup, but her eyes were red from crying or lack of sleep. "Get out," John Robin said flatly. "Please." She held up her hands. "Just listen. I've talked to Ken's lawyers. If you plead guilty to a lesser charge, agreed to a quick divorce with a generous settlement, you want my money." John Robin laughed. "After everything, you're still trying to profit from this." "I want to help you," Lily insisted. "Ken doesn't want revenge. We just want this to end quietly." "Of course you do." John Robin leaned forward. "Because a trial means everything comes out, every detail of your affair, every lie you told, every cruel thing you said about me, about Anita. Is that what you're afraid of?" "Lily, the truth." "The truth," she laughed shakily. "The truth is you shot an unarmed man in his own home. The truth is you're going to prison. The truth is you've lost everything, your business, your reputation, your freedom. Was it worth it?" "Get out." John Robin "Guard," he called. "We're done here." As Lily was led away, Richard made notes on his legal pad. "Well, that was interesting. She's worried about a trial." "They both are," John Robin said. "A deal keeps their affair out of the spotlight, lets them play the victims. Then perhaps we shouldn't give them what they want." Richard closed his briefcase. "The arraignment is tomorrow. Plead not guilty. Let them sweat. Maybe they'll offer a better deal when they realize we're ready to air all their dirty laundry in court." After his lawyer left, John Robin returned to his cell. His phone was in an evidence bag somewhere, but he could imagine the messages piling up, clients leaving, friends distancing themselves, his carefully built life crumbling. But strangely, he felt calmer than he had in weeks. The gun going off had been unplanned, but confronting Ken, making him face consequences that had been coming since the moment he discovered the affair. Lily and Ken had thought they were untouchable, that their spouses would either forgive them or quietly go away. Instead, they learned the hard way that actions had consequences. Ken would recover, carry that scar forever. Lily's reputation was destroyed, her social circle shattered, and John Robin, well, he'd face his own consequences, but at least he'd stopped pretending, stopped playing the dignified, betrayed husband, stopped swallowing his rage. That a guard appeared with dinner, some unidentifiable casserole on a plastic tray. "Looks like your famous Drake." Reporters everywhere outside. John Robin ignored the food, lying back on his bunk. Let them write their stories, paint him as the villain. He knew the truth, and soon when the trial started, everyone else would know it too. The courtroom buzzed with whispered conversations as John Robin sat beside his lawyer Richard Morton. 3 months had passed since the shooting. His dark suit hung looser now. Jail food and stress had stripped 20 pounds from his frame. "Remember what we discussed?" Richard murmured, arranging papers before him. "Let me handle the questioning. Just tell the truth about that night." John Robin nodded, his eyes fixed on the courtroom doors as Lily entered with her lawyer. She dyed her hair darker, adopted a more conservative style, playing the Traumatized wife for all it was worth. Behind her came Daniil, moving stiffly. He'd recovered from the shooting but kept one hand pressed against his chest, making sure everyone noticed his ongoing discomfort. Quite the performance, AITA whispered from the row behind John Robin. She kept her promise to stand by him, attending every her ing despite the social cost. Judge Harrison entered and the bailiff called the court to order. The prosecutor Linda Chun approached the podium. Your Honor, the state has agreed to accept a plea of guilty to manslaughter in exchange for dropping the attempted murder charge. The judge peered at John Robin over his glasses. Mr. Drake, do you understand the terms of this plea agreement? John Robin stood. Yes, Your Honor, and you understand that by pleading guilty to manslaughter, you're admitting to causing grievous bodily harm to Kenneth Williams, albeit without premeditation. Yes, Your Honor. Very well. Judge Harrison reviewed the papers before him. Mr. Morton, you may present your client's statement. Richard stood. Your Honor, my client's actions, while serious, occurred under extreme emotional distress. Mr. Williams and Mrs. Drake had engaged in a month-long affair, deliberately taunting and provoking my client on the night in question. Mr. Williams suggested he could simply buy his way out of the consequences. Objection. The prosecutor interrupted. The victim's alleged conduct does not excuse the defendant's actions. It doesn't excuse them. Richard agreed, but it provides critical context for sentencing. Mr. Drake has no prior criminal record. He's a respected businessman who, when faced with ongoing betrayal and humiliation, reached his breaking point. The judge nodded. Mrs. Williams, the first, understand you wish to make a statement. Anita rose gracefully. Yes, Your Honor. She moved to the podium, her designer suit immaculate. I've known John Robin for many years. He's not a violent man. What happened that night was the result of my husband's and Lily Drake's cruel and deliberate actions. Lily shifted uncomfortably in her seat as Anita continued. They didn't just have an affair, they flaunted it. They mocked their spouses. They leased an apartment together, planning to abandon their marriages. When confronted, they showed no remorse, instead can offer to buy John Robin. Silence, as if money could erase such a betrayal. Your Honor, Lily's lawyer stood. This testimony is inflammatory. It's the truth. Anita's voice cut through the objection. I have evidence, text messages, hotel receipts, witness statements showing how they deliberately humiliated their spouses. Yes, John Robin's actions were wrong, but he's not the only one who should face consequences today. Judge Harrison studied in Need's face. Mrs. Williams, are you saying you support a lenient sentence for the man who shot your husband? I'm saying actions have consequences, Your Honor. Anita's voice was steady. My husband chose to destroy 2 marriages. He chose to mock and taunt a man whose life he was ruining. Did John Robin go too far? Yes, but he's not the only one who should be judged here today. Ken stood up suddenly. This is ridiculous. I'm the victim here. Sit down, Mr. Williams, Judge Harrison ordered, or I'll have you removed. He turned to John Robin. Mr. Drake, would you like to make a statement before I pronounce sentence? John Robin rose slowly, feeling every eye in the courtroom on him. I regret my actions at night, Your Honor. I never intended to shoot anyone, but when Ken offered to pay me off, treated my marriage like something he could buy and discard. He paused, collecting himself. I lost control. That's on me, and I'll accept whatever punishment you decide. Very convenient, Lily muttered from her seat loud enough to carry the judge's gaze. Snop to her. Mrs. Drake, you'll remain silent or join Mr. Williams outside. He shuffled through papers on his bench. I've reviewed all the evidence, including Mrs. Williams's testimony about the affair and its aftermath. While Mr. Drake's actions cannot be excused, there are significant mitigating factors. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, the state recommends 5 years. I'm well aware of the state's recommendation, Miss Chen. Judge Harrison leaned forward. Mr. Drake, please rise. John Robin stood again, his heart pounding. Taking into account your lack of criminal history, the extreme emotional circumstances, and the fact that Mr. Williams has recovered, I sentence you to 1 year in the county jail with eligibility for release after 8 months for good behavior. A gasp went through the courtroom. Lily jumped up. 1 year. He tried to kill Ken. Mrs. Drake, the judge's voice cracked like a whip. One more outburst and you'll be held in contempt. Mr. Drake will also serve 2 years. probation following his release, and undergo mandatory counseling. Richard touched Michael's arm. Take it, he whispered. It's better than we hoped. I accept the sentence, Your Honor. John Robin, said Divore, approached to take him into custody. He heard Lily's voice behind him. This isn't over, John Robin. You'll lose everything in the divorce. Speaking of divorce, Anita's cool voice cut through the chaos. Lily, dear, you might want to check your email. My private investigator found something interesting about Ken's other activities. Ken's head snapped up. Anita, don't 6 other women in the past year alone. Anita continued, her voice carrying across the court. All married, all thinking they were special. One of them was even at that foundation meeting where you nominated Lily for the board. Remember Julie Chun? Ken, she sends her regards. Lily's face went pale. What is she talking about? She turned to Ken. What other women? Not here. Kay is grabbing her arm. Sarari yanked away from him. No, I want to know right now. Was I just another one of your conquests, Mrs. Drake? Mr. Williams, the judges give cracked. Take your domestic dispute outside my courtroom. Bays escort Mr. Drake to custody. As John Robin was led away, he caught Anita's eye. She nodded slightly, a promise to continue their work. The last thing he saw was Lily confronting Ken, her face twisted with the same pain she'd inflicted on others. The year in county jail passed slowly, but not as badly as John Robin had feared. He used the time to exercise, read, and plan his future. Richard kept him updated on the outside world through weekly visits. Lily's divorce proceedings are getting nasty, he reported. 1 month and she's trying to claim emotional abuse, but our evidence of her affair is overwhelming. The judge isn't sympathetic. And Ken, that's the best part. Richard smiled. Anita's revelations about his other affairs destroyed him. The foundation fired him officially last week. His investment clients are fleeing. Turns out people don't trust their money to serial adulterers. 6 months in a John Robin sentence. Anita visited with more news. Lily tried to move into that apartment she leased with Ken, she said, sitting across the visitation table. Guess what happened? John Robin raised an eyebrow. What? Ken never paid his half of the deposit. Apparently he was too busy hiding assets from my lawyers. Anita's smile was razor sharp. She lost her down payment and the building manager told everyone why her real estate business is in free fall. How bad? Last month she sold one house. Anita leaned forward. Nobody in our circle will work with her. The country club dropped her membership. Moral turpitude clause. Even her old clients are avoiding her. Turns out society wives don't trust their property dealings to someone who sleeps with other women's husbands. John Robin absorbed this silently. Part of him still loved Lily. 20 years of marriage couldn't be erased, but that love had curdled into something bitter and cold. She tried to call me, he said 3 times last week. Don't respond, let her stew. Anita checked her design, her watch. Oh, and Ken's other women, they're all talking now. Turns out he had a system. Target wealthy married women, promise them love and excitement, then move on. Lily was just the latest model. How's she taking that? Not well. Anita's laugh was without humor. She showed up at Ken's lake house last weekend screaming about how he'd promised to leave me for her. Security caught the whole thing on camera. It's all over social media. The months continued to pass. John Robin worked in the jail library, kept his head down, earned his good behavior credits. Richard brought updates about the divorce proceedings. Lily's lawyer quit, he reported during one visit. She couldn't pay his bills. The judge awarded you the house and 70% of the assets given her infidelity and your currency situation. What about my firm? The board kept it running in your absence. Most clients stay. They respect how you handled everything. Believe it or not, the shooting was excessive, but the rest. Richard shrugged. Let's just say a lot of powerful men understand being betrayed. Finally, after 8 months, John Robin was released. He walked out of jail into bright sunshine, breathing free air for the first time in what felt like years. Anita waited by her car. Welcome back, she said, handing him a coffee. Real coffee, not the jail's watered-down version. Ready to see what you've missed? The city had changed, or maybe he had. His house stood empty. Lily had moved out months ago, unable to afford anywhere else in their exclusive neighborhood. His firm welcomed him back quietly. No fanfare, just respect for a man who'd paid his debt. 2 weeks after his release, he ran into Lily at The grocery store. She looked older, tired, her designer clothes replaced by off-the-rack basics. John Robin, she said, stopping her cart. How are you? Fine. He studied her face, feeling nothing but a distant pity. I've been trying to reach you about the divorce settlement talk to Richard. He started to walk away. Wait, she grabbed his arm. Please, I was wrong about everything. He played me for a fool, used me just like all the others. I've lost everything, my business, my friends, my reputation. Consequences, John Robin said. Quietly, they catch up eventually. We could try again, she whispered. I still love you. We could. No, the word came out flat. Final. We can't, John Robin, please. I have nothing left. No one will even talk to me anymore. The other realtors blacklisted me. I can't even get a job as a receptionist, because everyone knows what. His voice was cold. That you betrayed your husband, mocked him, flaunted your affair. Actions have consequences, Lily. You're living with yours, I live with mine. In jail, she started crying, makeup running. Other shoppers were staring now. I'm sorry. How many times do I have to say it? I'm sorry. Save it. He walked away, leaving her sobbing in the cereal aisle. That evening Anita called. Heard you ran into a Lily. Today news travels fast in our circle like lightning. She paused. Ken's in rehab. Apparently he had a breakdown after losing his 7th client this month. His other victims are all filing civil suits. Good, John Robin. Anita's voice softened. Have dinner with me tomorrow, just as friends. We've been through hell together. Maybe it's time to start living again. He thought about it, about everything they'd shared, everything they'd lost and gained. Okay, but just dinner, she agreed. So 8 o'clock, that new place downtown. I'll be there after. Hanging up, John Robin stood in his home office looking at old photos he hadn't taken down yet. Him and Lily on vacation, at parties, building a life he thought would last forever. The man in those photos was gone, replaced by someone harder, wiser, less forgiving. He took the photos down, packed them away in a box for the attic. The wall looked bare but clean, ready for something new. His phone buzzed. A text from SAR. Please give me another chance. I have nothing left, no one left. John Robin deleted it without responding. Let her live with her choices, just as he'd lived with his. She'd chosen Ken, chosen betrayal, chosen to destroy everything they'd built. Now she could choose to live with the consequences. Tomorrow he'd have dinner with Anita. Not a date, not a new beginning, just two people who understood loss and betrayal, who'd face their own demons and survived. It was enough. The future stretched ahead, uncertain but free from the weight of the past. He paid for his crimes, lost what he had to lose, and emerged stronger. Lily and Ken had paid too, in different ways. Justice came in many forms, some legal, some karmic, all inevitable. John Robin closed his office door, leaving the ghosts of his old life behind. Tomorrow would be a new day, and he was ready to face